Yasiel Puig's journey from Cuba to MLB involved extreme risks, legal troubles, and a hectic career, making him one of baseball's most controversial figures. Born in Cienfuegos, Cuba, leaving the island as a resident is one of the most difficult things to do as a baseball player. Puig hasn't publicly said how many times he has tried defecting, but 4 failures are put on record. In Cuba, Puig was playing for the national team on $17 a month, while possibly being worth millions of dollars in the US. Since he tried defecting many times, the only way the Cuban government was going to allow Puig to play baseball was if he became a government informant. The reason for becoming a government official is to basically get back on the Cuban government's good side following his many attempted defections. While trying to defect off the island, Puig was sued for $12 million and accused of being a government official. Soon after, Puig was reinstated and invited to join the national team for a tournament in the Netherlands. Puig was once again suspended. According to some, this was because he was caught stealing from a Dutch mall, but what was more likely to be the case was that Puig tried defecting again. Now, Puig had 2 options: leave the island for good or never play baseball again. Then a friend of Puig's knew a man in Miami who knew of Puig's baseball skill and knew that smuggling him off the island will give him a lot of money in return. However, this man in Miami was not an experienced smuggler. Puig agreed to be smuggled off the island and pay back all the costs of the operation. The man in Miami would receive 20% of Puig's future earnings. Puig obviously agreed, and in order to reach America, he had to be smuggled in through Mexico. The man in Miami promised the smugglers $250K if they can get him to Mexico. Because the man in Miami didn't have the money to pay the smugglers, they started to threaten Puig and the 2 others that were being smuggled out. After a few days, a man that ESPN called El Rubio colluded with the man in Miami to buy them more time from the smugglers. Puig and his 2 others, who were also trying to defect, made it to Mexico City. Within days of reaching Mexico City, Puig had already been doing workouts for MLB teams. In 2012, 2 months after leaving Cuba, and before he was even able to open a bank account, he signed a 7-year, $42 million contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers. About $8.5 million of that contract would go back to the people involved who helped him defect from Cuba. His first week in the MLB will go down in history. At this time, the Dodgers were struggling and needed something to provide a spark of optimism. Puig was just that. In his MLB debut, he went 2 for 4 and ended the game with an amazing throw from right field at the warning track to double off the runner on first base to end the game. In his first week, he hit .464 with a .482 on-base percentage, along with 4 home runs and 10 RBIs. However, Puig's path to stardom was not without its challenges. Despite his undeniable talent, he faced criticism and scrutiny over his on-field antics and off-field behavior. He played with a flair that players typically didn't like, and has been involved in some of the most memorable bench clearings in recent years. During his time in the MLB, he was known for licking his bat and bat flipping on non-home runs. He was given the nickname Wild Horse by the legendary announcer Vin Scully. 2014 was his best year, and he was rewarded with being named to the All-Star team for the first and only time during his career in the MLB, accumulating a 4.9 WAR, a .296 average, and an OPS plus of 145. In 2015, he missed a good chunk of the season due to hamstring issues, and this became the beginning of the end of his time in LA and MLB career. For the 2019 season, Yasiel Puig and 3 others were traded to the Cincinnati Reds. On April 7, 2019, Yasiel Puig and his Reds got into a benches clearing brawl versus the Pittsburgh Pirates. This is where his most famous picture originated from. In that same season, one day before the MLB trade deadline, Puig's Reds got into another benches clearing altercation. The very next day, he was traded to the Cleveland Indians for Trevor Bauer. After arriving in Cleveland, Puig was suspended for 2 games for his actions in the altercation just a day prior. In 2020, Puig was set to play for the Atlanta Braves during the COVID-19 shortened season, but the deal was turned down when Puig tested positive for COVID. Following 2020, Puig has been all over the world trying to find a new baseball home. Since then, he has played for the Dominican professional leagues as Toros del Este, the Mexican leagues as El Águila de Veracruz, and the Kiwoom Heroes of the Korean Baseball Organization. Puig is set to return to South Korea for the 2025 season after he revealed on social media that he signed with the Kiwoom Heroes. It's very unlikely that Puig will get his shot to play in MLB again, but there is no denying that Puig's career has been one of the most eventful in history, in the amount of turmoil he went through just to get to America. And the controversial events that occurred once he got here ensures that Puig, for good and for bad, will always be remembered.